Well, joining me now from Paris is the spokesman for the ruling BJP, Syed Zafari. In Srinagar, the spokesman for the People's Democratic Party in Jammu and Kashmir, Waheed Para. And also in Srinagar, human rights lawyer Parvez Imroz. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Waheed Para, let me begin with you. Did that UN human rights report bring down your government and cause your split with the BJP?
Well, human rights issue is a concern for J&K government. It has always been, irrespective of the parties in power. It is a cause of concern that we always try to have, maximum restraint. But there is a problem in Kashmir. There is a genesis to the problem, which is a political problem. We try our level best to maintain law and order, but in response to the breach of law and order, you still have some cases. And in past cycle of violence, there have been some sort of excesses also. I will not deny that, but it's the cause of concern. Not that has been the reason for fall of government or anything. There are other political reasons for the fall of government. But yes, human rights in Jammu and Kashmir is a very serious cause of concern, irrespective of parties who are in power in J&K or for the larger government of India also. We try our level best to show maximum restraint during dealing the cases of law and order. But still, we are not always, it's not so easy when you deal with such situations. There are cases of infiltration, there are ceasefire violations, there are serious cases of law and order also.
And those are, I'm understanding you're trying to contextualize it for me, but what's interesting is the BJP has now imposed direct control and you're not at the table anymore. I want to bring in the human rights lawyer, Parvez Imroz here. I want to ask you, Mr. Imroz, what you first of all think about the UN human rights report, and secondly, the BJP's response to that and everything that's played out since then.
You see, the Human Rights Commission report, the worst fears of the Indian government. The Indian government has never ever wanted that the human rights situation in Kashmir should get international. And for the first time, the OHCHR, or the High Commissioner of Human Rights, acknowledged that because the government of India refused them to give access to the fact-finding, they were forced to go for a remote monitoring, which they have been doing in other areas also. So for the first time that the international institution, United Nations, has acknowledged that there are massive human rights violations in Kashmir, and for which they have recommended the Human Rights Council that there should be a thorough and comprehensive independent investigation in all the crimes. Because I, as a human rights defender, working in Kashmir for the last 30 years, believe, and as a Kashmiri, that the suppression and oppression in Kashmir is systematic and institutional. Right? All the institutions are part and parcel of it, including the politicians who have been ruling Kashmir. And rightly said by the report that India is not, not a single perpetrator have been punished, because the army has the Armed Forces Special Powers Act where they have complete impunity. And particularly the BJP government here right now, the way they are giving complete the moral impunity also to the armed forces here. You take the case of the army Major Gogoi, that who forcefully forced a guy Kashmiri for using him as a human secret, and how they,
so allow me to come in here for a second, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to bring in Syed Zafari. So we have this UN human rights report. It's scathing. It also looks at the alleged crimes of the Pakistanis, but we're focusing on India now. And it talks a lot about chronic impunity, violations committed by security forces, and so forth. Your government comes out, says it's fallacious, tendentious, and motivated. Such language that makes one think that the BJP doth protest too much. And then you impose direct rule over Jammu and Kashmir. That's not a good look, is it?
Well, let me respond to both the questions you have posed to me. First of all, yes, indeed, this report is malicious. This report is baseless. This is absolutely motivated.
Motivated by what?
Because it is away from the reality, and it is just motivated by the Human Rights Commissioner of the United Nations is only projecting a situation which is contrary to the ground reality. And it is very unfair on his part. I must tell you that it is very unfair on his part to publish this report, which is absolutely baseless. This ground reality is very, very different there. There is a terrorism. There is a neighboring country, Pakistan, which there are so many terrorist organizations there. They are trying to radicalize, push the terrorists inside the Indian territory, and these people are up to terrorist activities all the time. And Indian government, Indian security forces are dealing now only sternly with these terrorist organizations and terrorists who are coming to India. And there are people who are trying to radicalize the youth of Jammu and Kashmir, because you must know, the youth of Jammu and Kashmir, they want to be part of India. They want to be part of mainstream of India. That's why we had... no, because we interact with people. We interact. If you just see the person the lieutenant who has been killed by the terrorist recently, his father, and the number of people who came to attend his funeral, all the youth, they always speak. They speak against against Pakistan, against the terrorist organization.
Do you think those youths certainly, do you think those youths who have suffered the pellets in the face, who have been gunned down, do you think they still want to be a part of India just for protesting?
Well, let me also ask you. See, this is the mildest way to deal with people who are actually throwing stones at the security forces.
By blinding them.
And anywhere other part of the country, if such situation has ever arisen, the security forces have dealt very sternly and very mildly in Jammu and Kashmir, because...
But let me ask you, just because it's stern and harsher elsewhere, is it okay to blind protesters for protesting against Indian rule and maybe throwing stones? Is it justified to blind them?
No. No, let me ask you a very direct question. That the separatist forces who are sitting there and giving their financial support, moral support, emotional support, and misleading these people. Misleading. I'm telling you that the parent ask their parents.
They're quite terrible as separatist forces giving financial support if the best they can give these people is stones, right? If you're telling me the separatist forces arming these people, the best they can do is stones. They're pretty horrible as separatist forces.
Arming these people with the stones, arming these people with arms, arming these people with...
we were talking about stones. You mentioned stones
and
first
misleading them.
You mentioned stones first up. You're saying separatist forces financially arming these people with what? With stones. And these kids are being blinded, some are being gunned down. But I want to go back to Waheed Para here. Waheed, I want to bring you in here.
No, let me
hold on for a second. Syed Zafari Islam, just a second. I want to bring in Waheed because Waheed was your partner in government in Kashmir. Now, Waheed, your PDP is not at the table anymore. Tell me what's your problem with the BJP?
Look, there's no doubt that to Kashmir human rights, there is an internal and external angle. There are political realities. There is a problem in Kashmir, and this is, goes back to 70 years. So Kashmir needs a political solution that we as a political party has been asserting, and we always say that there is a democratic way to achieve that goal. Where the challenge comes is that the larger BJP, which we've been talking to BJP also, is that there is the requirement for initiative of talks, dialogue, internally and externally. You need to talk when you say Pakistan is infiltrating or Pakistan is interfering. We want to talk to Pakistan on those issues as well. We also want to talk to the separatist leaders, which we have been consistently pursuing to the BJP and the larger mainstream. We had an agenda of alliance with BJP where we discussed every issue that all stakeholders, irrespective of ideologies, and all stakeholders, irrespective of their views, need to be engaged for a political solution. Now, the challenge with BJP comes is because BJP is a larger nationalistic political party, their constituency is different. They don't want to be engaged in many ways with separatists in the locality, and they also don't want to be engaging with Pakistan in some times. So there has been consistent initiatives from us, and to some extent, BJP's in central leadership did respond. They appointed an interlocutor, they initiated talks, they announced a ceasefire. They also initiated talks with Pakistan. It didn't work up because peace in Jammu and Kashmir has always been seen through events, and these events will not help. It needs a consistent engagement. It needs a consistent process. Unless it's not a sustainable process, you are not going to resolve this problem. You are not going to end. Human rights will happen. Deaths will take place. We will continuously shift blames on each other. But the reality is that, yes, people are dying on the both sides, and people are getting killed every day. We all may be responsible. We need to introspect a serious assessment. Yes, there is an external angle. Pakistan's involvement is there on the human rights part. But should we wait for that, or should we initiate something to save our own people? That's a larger question that we all need.
It's good to know where you stand. I want to bring in Parvez Imroz. Parvez, you have a member of the BJP on the panel here. You're in the valley. You believe there are human rights violations taking place right there. He believes that this is justified because of a terror threat and because of the context that he paints. I want you to talk to him directly. Talk to Syed Zafari Islam directly. Tell him why you think you're wrong. He's wrong, rather.
No, I will be telling one thing, you know, that
I cannot...
I'm saying tell him why you think he's wrong. He clearly disagrees with you. So, Parvez, go ahead. Address him directly.
No, I'm not going to address him directly. I'm telling you that as far the report is concerned, you know, this report, rejecting this report was expected on expected lines. You know, a country which is aspiring to become the permanent member of the UN Security Council has been rejecting it. You know, if we see that the government of India's conduct, for example, you see the OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries, wanted to come here and have fact-finding. India reject. The European Parliament passed a resolution in 2008 for urging government of India to conduct investigation in mass graves, right? They rejected it. These special rapporteurs, we have United Nations mechanisms like special rapporteur on the human rights, on the disappearance here, because we have 8,000 disappearance here and 7,000 mass graves, right? India refuses these special, you know, mechanisms to come and visit here. India refuses the monitoring by the international monitoring agencies to see whether the elections in Kashmir are conducted in free or fair manner. India has been always very, you know, no country has the absolute sovereignty.
Will I get an opportunity to speak?
Yes, you will. The man's finishing his point. So finish your point, sir.
Country. Human rights violations are not internal affairs of a country. India cannot brush aside. And these Zafar Saab and others, we can understand their compulsion. But we are saying that as a Kashmiri, I'm saying that where 70,000 people have got killed, where 8,000 people have disappeared, where we have nearly 200 torture survivors here, and committed by the 700,000 security forces here with complete impact.
Okay, so
it's a matter of international community.
Okay, fair point.
International.
Okay, I'm going to get a response. Certainly, I'm going to get a response from Syed Zafari Islam. Syed Zafari Islam, let me add to that a question from the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Zaid Ra'ad al-Hussein. He says, how is it that a country that prides itself on its democratic institutions has not allowed a single trial in nearly 28 years of armed forces personnel accused of serious violations, including killings, rape, torture, and enforced disappearances? Go ahead.
Well, let me respond to that. First of all, I would request the Human Rights Commissioner of United Nations to pay attention to Balochistan, where the actual human rights violation is taking place and nobody in the world is actually bothered about it.
You're talking about Pakistan, we're talking about Kashmir.
No, I'm not. No, agreed. I'm coming back to that. It's very unfortunate that people are, where there is no human rights violation, the people are trying to paint such things.
We do programs about Pakistan all the time. We hold people from Pakistan to account all the time.
Now we're talking about
Kashmir.
Let me come back to it. See, Kashmir, you have to understand the dynamics in Kashmir. After the election, it was a fractured mandate. It was difficult for us to form the government. It was difficult for PDP or for that other political party. It was difficult for them. The kind of fractured mandate was given by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Yet, despite all the differences with the PDP and the ideological differences, we had set aside all the differences, all the contentious issues we actually set aside, and we formed the government only in the interests of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, because we wanted to overall development of the Jammu and Kashmir, which Jammu and Kashmir has remained isolated from all the developmental activities taking place in the country. We wanted the people of Jammu and Kashmir to be part of the mainstream, and that's why we formed the government, and it was working fine. But Pakistan, separatist forces, now people are talking about to talk to separatist forces. We want to talk to everyone on the earth, but within the constitutional framework of the country. We cannot be dictated, a country cannot be dictated that they should talk on a terms and conditions posed by them. No, there's a constitution within the country for the government for the country, and within the constitutional framework, we are happy to engage anywhere. But they do not respect the constitution. They do not respect the sovereignty of the nation. How can you engage a person who does not respect his own nation?
Okay.
And they are working against the interests of the nation and compromising with the interests of the nation, and colliding with who? The terrorist organization, and supporting them.
I got to come in here. Unfortunately, I don't like the fact that you didn't address what I asked from the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, but unfortunately we're out of time now. For the moment, I have to thank you, gentlemen, because I have to move on. Syed Zafari Islam, Waheed Para, and Parvez Imroz, thanks for joining us on the Newsmakers.